In one of the most talked-about sporting spectacles of recent years, Jake Paul secured a points victory over boxing legend Mike Tyson in their heavyweight clash. The fight, which had captured global attention for months leading up to the opening bell, did not disappoint in drama, emotion, and spectacle. Despite a 30-year age gap and questions about Tyson's ability to compete at 58, the bout proved far more competitive than many had expected. Round 1, a cautious start. The opening round saw Jake Paul circling carefully, pumping out his jab while staying light on his feet. Tyson, in trademark fashion, crouched low, bobbing and weaving as he attempted to close the distance. The crowd roared every time Tyson slipped a punch and fired a left hook, though Paul managed to keep his composure. The round was tight, with Tyson's aggression clashing against Paul's sharper output. Round 2, Tyson turns back the clock. The second round saw the first real taste of danger for Paul. Tyson cut off the ring and landed a looping right hand that forced Paul to hold. The veteran unleashed a short flurry on the inside, bringing flashes of the ferocity that made him the baddest man on the planet. For a moment, it seemed like the old Tyson had returned, and Paul's defense looked shaky. Still, the YouTuber-turned boxer survived the round, using clinches to buy himself breathing space. Round 3, Paul finds his rhythm. By the third, Paul began settling down. His jab started to land cleanly, and he mixed in body shots that slowed Tyson's advance. Tyson continued to march forward, but Paul's youth and stamina began to shine. The crowd could sense the momentum shifting as Paul grew more confident, snapping Tyson's head back with straight rights. Rounds 4 to 5, experience versus youth. These were the rounds where the fight truly came alive. Tyson, aware that his gas tank was not limitless, looked for explosive bursts. He landed a thunderous left hook in round 4 that momentarily wobbled Paul, forcing him onto the ropes. But instead of folding, Paul responded with combinations of his own. By round 5, Tyson's output dipped slightly, while Paul's volume increased. He boxed with composure, using his jab and footwork to keep Tyson at bay. Round 6, Tyson's last big push. The sixth round felt like Tyson's final charge. He backed Paul up with a barrage of hooks, and the arena erupted when a right hand thudded flush against Paul's jaw. For a brief moment, Paul seemed stunned. But to his credit, he absorbed the punishment and countered with a series of crisp jabs and uppercuts that forced Tyson to step back. The contrast was striking, Tyson's raw power against Paul's resilience and discipline. Rounds 7 to 8, Paul pulls ahead. As the fight entered the later rounds, Tyson's energy waned. His footwork slowed, and the head movement that defined his prime became less frequent. Paul, meanwhile, grew stronger, firing combinations and targeting Tyson's body. In round 8, Paul showcased his conditioning, throwing over 40 punches while Tyson landed sporadically. The younger man was clearly in control, dictating the pace and using movement to neutralize Tyson's forward pressure. Round 9, tactical discipline. Paul didn't chase the knockout but boxed with maturity. He stayed behind the jab, landed clean straight shots, and avoided unnecessary exchanges. Tyson tried to lure him into a fight, but Paul's discipline held firm. Fans began to realize that the upset was no longer just possible, it was becoming reality. Final round, respect in the ring. In the 10th and final round, both fighters emptied their tanks. Tyson, digging deep, unleashed a final flurry, while Paul responded with sharp counters. The crowd rose to its feet, applauding both men for the spectacle. When the bell rang, the two embraced in the center of the ring, a gesture of mutual respect between a legend and a new generation star. The decision. After 10 rounds, the judges delivered their verdict, a unanimous decision victory for Jake Paul. The scores reflected his superior stamina, volume, and control over the latter half of the fight. Paul, visibly emotional, raised his hands in disbelief, while Tyson nodded in acknowledgement. Post-fight reaction. Paul hailed Tyson as the greatest inspiration of my boxing journey, thanking him for sharing the ring. Tyson, smiling but visibly exhausted, admitted, "The kid's got heart. I gave him everything I had, and he stood up to it." The fight may not have been vintage Tyson, but it proved that even in his late 50s, his presence and power could still command respect. For Jake Paul, the victory was the biggest of his career, a symbolic passing of the torch, even if in reality, Tyson was far beyond his prime. Legacy of the bout. The event will be remembered less for the technical brilliance and more for its cultural significance. A YouTuber defeating one of the most iconic heavyweights in history underscores the changing face of boxing in the modern era. Whether one views it as a circus or a legitimate contest, It was undeniably captivating. Jake Paul walked away with the biggest win of his career, while Mike Tyson walked away with his legacy intact, still adored by fans for his warrior spirit.